Cyril Ramaphosa has been sworn in for a second term. In his address, the head of state hailed the formation of the unity government as the beginning of a new era and said it was time for parties to overcome their differences and work together.
Today, my fellow South Africans, is no ordinary day. It is a moment of fundamental consequence in the life of our nation. It is a moment when we must choose to either move forward together or risk losing all we have built. In this moment, we must choose to move forward, to close the distances between South Africans and to build a more equal society, to translate the promise of our Constitution and the vision of the Freedom Charter into a reality for all. This moment requires extraordinary courage and leadership. It requires a common mission to safeguard national unity, peace, stability, inclusive economic growth, non-racialism, and non-sexism. Through the ballots that they have cast, the people of South Africa have made plain their expectation that the leaders of our country should work together.
The JSE, meanwhile, has continued to build on positive momentum, with the all share surpassing the psychological 80,000 points level, and the rand has also rallied. The local unit strengthened to its best level in almost a year, trading just under 18 rand to the dollar. Expectations are that it will now test the psychological level of 17 rand to the greenback after the cabinet is announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa at a later date. When that cabinet announcement is made, it's expected that Enoch Godongwana will continue to hold the country's purse strings. According to a Times Live report, the ANC's top brass has called for continuity in some key portfolios, such as in the economic cluster. And so it's likely that he will remain finance minister. The Sunday Times has also reported that the ANC will want to retain home affairs, international relations, defense and state security, but it's open to negotiating other portfolios, such as the police and the 2 education posts. A senior ANC leader has stated that the DA is the only party that the ANC is negotiating with on which departments it will receive. Consumer price inflation is at a 4-month low. The print for May stood at 5.2%, unchanged from the previous month. That's as the annual rates for 4 of the 12 product groups remained steady during the period. Still, it remains above the central bank's preferred target of 4.5%. Investex chief economist Annabel Bishop says CPI is proving very sticky, which will likely keep the Reserve Bank's tone hawkish in any near-term remarks. Schroder has delivered an improved half-year performance. The real estate investment trust, which invests in European growth cities and regions, has grown underlying earnings from operational activities to just over €4 million. That's a 13% rise when compared to the prior year. Schroder says this was driven by strong occupancy, high rent collection, along with the portfolio's indexation characteristics, which underpinned rental growth. It's added that this helped offset the impact of high interest costs. Despite subdued local consumer demand, Libstar's delivered growth. The food producers shared a trading update which shows a near 5% rise in year-to-date revenue. It says category growth initiatives launched during 2023 yielded benefits as the dairy and wet condiment subcategories performed strongly. Libstar's export channel also outperformed during the period. Gemfields has raked in nearly $69 million from its recent ruby auction. The precious stones producer says 97% of the lots on offer were sold, and that it crossed an average selling price of $300 per carat. The sector is facing some headwinds, partly due to a softening in China, but Gemfields says it hopes that these results provide good comfort to other stakeholders in the sector. Stadio has increased its student numbers for the first semester of 2024. The private education scholar base grew 8%. That's thanks to an increase in both contact and distance learning. The firm says this is satisfactory given the tough economic environment. Further afield, British inflation returned to its 2% target in May for the first time in nearly 3 years. But underlying price pressures remained strong, meaning the Bank of England is likely to wait longer before cutting interest rates. Let's take a look at the detail in this package report.
There was some good news for British shoppers Wednesday. Inflation sank back to its 2% target in May for the first time in nearly 3 years. That will be welcome news too for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, with his ruling Conservative Party far behind in the polls just weeks before a general election. Sunak claimed the decline was proof his policies were working and urged voters not to put that at risk by voting Labour. The figure will also be closely watched at the Bank of England, with policymakers there meeting Thursday to decide their next move. But services price inflation, which the BOE watches very closely, fell less than expected to 5.7%. Economists say such data shows underlying price pressures remain strong, undermining the case for rate reductions. Even so, UK inflation has come down faster than in the US or Eurozone, belying fears that it could prove stubbornly persistent. Price rises had first picked up in 2021 due to bottlenecks caused by the COVID pandemic. They then soared the following year as Russia's invasion of Ukraine drove a surge in energy prices.